One of my favorite prayers to pray right now is from Romans 15. It's a prayer for hope, for joy, and for peace. And we hear this prayer and it sounds like a nice, kind Bible verse that's encouraging, but it's so much more than that. It's Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. What Paul's praying here is a very specific prayer. It's not just for joy and peace and hope to fill your heart with good feelings, although that's surely part of it. The goal of Paul is to connect hope in God's promises to joy and peace. That's the transformation of our emotions, the joy and peace of mind, a settledness related to the future, the absence of fear, the absence of anxiety, the thing that the gospel gives us beyond our salvation is a sure future, a sure hope that God's really going to do the things he said he was going to do. And that knowing that future should cause us to feel and be transformed in our emotions towards joy and peace. The prayer is, God promised us many things. He's a God of hope. He's a God of the future. He's someone who's given us confidence that good things are coming. And I want those good things and a faith in those good things to lead you to having joy and peace on the inside that transforms your experience of this life. That's what Paul's praying for. He's not just praying for generic, I pray that you'd have hope. I pray that you'd have joy and peace. It's actually really specific. The context of Romans 15, Paul's talking about the future and the fullness of what God's going to do for all the nations. And he says, may that God who made those promises fill you with faith, that by the power of the Holy Spirit you'd abound in hope. What does he mean? What he means is to believe God and his promises because it's invisible, because we don't see it in front of us. To believe him requires faith. Faith is a gift from the Holy Spirit. So it's by the power of the Holy Spirit, by the gift of God of faith, the gift of believing, that would cause you to abound in hope, so that joy and peace would fill your heart. What is it that we're hoping in? What is it that it should cause us to feel joy and peace? Well, he talks about it in Romans. He talks about it in 1 Corinthians. It's the future. It's the promises. It's the resurrection. It's one day Jesus is going to come back. He's going to give us new bodies. He's going to make everything right. He's going to wipe away every tear. He's going to restore the glory of God to the earth. There's so much that God has promised us that's good. And believing those things is sometimes hard. Actually, without the gift of faith and the power of the Holy Spirit, believing those things is impossible. And so that's the prayer that Paul prays here in Romans 15 is, I pray that God would empower you to believe that his promises are real, and that in believing, your heart would be transformed with joy and with peace. That replaces fear, that replaces anxiety, that replaces sadness. This is the thing that Peter reminds us of in 1 Peter 1, in the midst of great trials. He says, even though you experience great trials, this is the hope that God's given you. It's imperishable, it's unfading. No one can take this hope from you, despite your trials, despite your pain. It replaces fear, it replaces depression. This is the glory of what God's given us in the gospel. And this is the prayer of Paul, that we would be given faith to believe God's promises are real, so that joy and peace would fill our hearts.